And we back. Today we're going to be getting into some of them deeper studies from King Solomon and some of the energies of the 77 frequency, which have the power to raise your vibration and walk you into godly wisdom, which will increase the vibration on the physical plane and help and aid us into going into the age of Aquarius as a planet, all of us. And we're going to be reading from the book of Psalms from the legendary King David. And for people that want to read with me, I'm going to start reading at Psalms 12 and 8. Psalms 12 and 8. It says, "The wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted." So basically what King David was saying, if we were to exalt wicked men, corrupt, vile, people like that with low morals and people that are less than trustworthy, the wicked gonna walk on every side. And this is when we're gonna have gang stalking. This is when we're gonna have people human trafficking. This is we gonna have people getting pardons and stuff that's just vile people. All kind of wicked gonna go on because you exalted a wicked person. This is what David was saying. And when David wrote this, he was speaking from godly wisdom, and he wrote this way back in the days. And it's something for us in the right now time to tap into the wisdom that's in this book that was passed down to us from the legendary King James Stewart, and receive of that wisdom and integrate it with the doctrine that we teaching today, as well as our lifestyles, as well as our thought patterns. So if we want to live in a country and in a world that's just, Just, relating to justice, a world where people are treated fairly, a world where everybody has a chance, a world where you can trust that the Constitution and the rights of every American citizen, whether you poor or rich, it really don't matter, you still a taxpayer, that your rights will be defended and you'll be protected. We got to begin to elect men with integrity. And for us to move forward as a country and reach the sublime levels that even the forefathers foresaw us reaching, and even in my heart I see us becoming, we're going to have to start back leaning towards electing people with high morals, even like Abraham Lincoln. And we're going to have to begin to start electing men that really put America first, even if it costs them their life, like the legendary, who I respect, President Kennedy. And we're going to have to start electing people with a foresight to lead us into new levels of prosperity, and able to, like Roosevelt did with the New Deal and some of the stuff that he introduced. And the leadership qualities of a George Washington. This is what we're looking for. And this is what we must expect as Americans. We shouldn't lower our standards on what we expect from our leaders, but actually we should raise the bar on the people that we expect. America is the home of real great people. I see a lot of people in my everyday life that'll do a good job in office, whether it's in the House of Representatives, the Senate, governorship, mayors, even police chiefs, even aldermen, and even the metro city councils in the cities all over this proud nation. We got regular citizens that'll do a good job and upstanding Americans. And this is what we should be looking to. And that's why I said we should expand our political parties and start a few more parties, because healthy competition tends to raise the bar and tends to bring about a better product. The more competition, the better the product. The better you got to be in order to perform in those situations when it's more challenges. And the way our electoral system has been working lately, when it just comes down to two people, I'm going to just be blunt. A lot of times people look and say they don't want either one of them, And we'll have the independent party, will have some people, the Green Party will have some people, but they never really have a chance. This is why I said we got to start we got to pass legislation that puts the politicians on contract again. And I mean all of them. I mean police chiefs, metro council, mayor, governor, we got to put them on contract. And if we were to add this one simple step to our electoral process, it'll make a world of difference in bringing, in creating a more perfect union and making our country great again for real. And I mean from coast to coast, from down south to the north, we'll have people that's actually doing what they say and saying what they mean before they get elected. And what we'll do is have them to post their contracts before we even vote for them. Everybody that's running for office have to make public their contract. We get to see what you gonna do, we get to see what you gonna do, and we get to see what you gonna do. And when you show up for the town talks, when you show up for the debates, the public, we the people who I represent, we are armed with the ability to ask them relevant questions according to their actual contract, rather than just asking them questions and they just up there riffing, saying stuff, but when they get in office, they don't do none of the stuff they were saying in them town talks. And we could go pull up some town talks and watch some of them politicians talking in them town talks, and a lot of stuff they said they didn't deliver once they was in office. This is why my good friend George Carlin used to laugh every time he started talking about politicians, and he would bring up the fact that the public expects politicians to tell the truth. And he, is you crazy? You expect politicians to tell the truth? But he lived in a world where the politicians were not under contract. In our world, in the Aquarian age, we'll deliver to the public and we the people by putting the politicians on under contract. What we want to do is add teeth to our democracy. We need to add teeth to our democracy so we don't be under the threat of a strong man coming up and taking control and wresting control of the Supreme Court and the legislature and wresting control of the Senate and then taking full power and becoming like a dictator type character over here in our country. We don't need that. We have to protect ourselves from the Antichrist as well. Remember. So the Antichrist is coming. It may be over here. Just to make sure it's not over here, we got to start putting in the proper checks and balances so that we the people can push back on the Antichrist when he show up. And hopefully we don't even put him in office because we want to see his contract. Now you see, before we even vote for him. So we put the politicians on contract. And what it'll do is it'll empower us, because we'll have the power to impeach them and they won't have to go through Senate and Congress. This is an excellent change to what we have now. And if George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson and some of them guys was here and they was to come and look at the system and the way that our government is now, one of them will come with this. They'll be like, dude, we got to take the power to impeach you out of Congress and give it to the people. Because if the Congress is in the pocket of the politician, then it's useless because they ain't going to never impeach him. No matter what violations they make, they still not going to impeach him because they're in pocket with the politician. We can't allow that. So that's another loophole that we the people have to close. The people say they want to fight back against different strongmen and different energies that's taking over in our government and taking us off the beaten path and taking us into the ditch. Then we have to start giving the people weapons to fight with. And one of the weapons to fight with would be contracts for the politicians, and that'll give us the power. We have the power to impeach. So if you get in there and you break the contract, it's called breach of contract. The first time you violate, you go before Congress. The second time you violate, you automatically impeach. We the people. You automatically impeach. So it ain't a such thing as you got Congress in pocket, because if you violate two of them things you got on your contract, it's called breach of contract. Just like I said in the earlier video, if lawyers and construction workers and NFL players and NBA, all them got to be under contract. Why shouldn't politicians be under contract? And these are some of the most powerful energies in our country. They're making decisions that's determining life and death situations for the people here. It's just like when they cutting out funding for this and that and people going hungry and stuff. They cutting out funding for medicine for the kids and they going hungry. Well, we need him to write that in his contract. So we the people could see that before we vote for him. So before you do that, we need to see that in your contract that you said you're going to cut the funding on this child care thing. So you going to do that? Yeah, thank you. We're not voting for you. Now you see what I'm saying. The contract's going to be powerful. And if I could just get the people to brainstorm with me and just riff and just think about it and go back and forth in their mind and really think about it, it's a brilliant idea that make a lot of sense. In this way, we can raise the bar of the people we putting in office because we making them show and tell before we even putting them in there. Just like I said, with everything else, them people have to show us the contracts before we sign it. We don't just willy-nilly put people, hire lawyers and construction workers without putting them under contract. Are you crazy? So why we just willy-nilly putting politicians in there? So don't come running up laughing like George Carlin telling me if we trust politicians, we stupid. And I'm like, yeah, because we don't have them under contract. We can fix this. This is our government. So like I was saying on the earlier video, America is an idea. And I do speak with a Creole accent. When I say idea, I'm saying I-D-E-A, idea. America is an idea in the minds of the founding fathers and now in the minds and hearts of us red-blooded Americans. It's an idea. It's not a solid entity. It's not something you can reach and touch, but it's an idea in the minds of Americans. We go to sleep and wake up and our minds change and America becomes something different. We need to build smarter to make America greater even than it is. And this is what George Washington and them meant when they said they're trying to build a more perfect union. If they were to come back and hear the discourse that I'm having on these videos, they would be proud, impressed, and they'll know that the government was in good hands with people like me. They would automatically know that because they'll be like, he's talking like we was talking when we first set it up. If any loopholes are found, we're to close them. We're to protect ourselves. Just like I was saying, the government belongs to the people. It don't belong to elected officials, and it's not a solid substance that we can touch when we saying government. But government is an idea, I-D-E-A, in the minds and the hearts of we, the American people. It belongs to us. So if you find a loophole in the government, that's just like saying you found the loophole in the contract that I signed to you when you working on my house. So now you find the loophole where at first you said you was going to be finished in 2 months, but now you find the loophole that if it rained 3 times, then you get to extend it for 6 months. So now I come outside and y'all out there playing horseshoes and shooting dice, and I'm asking you why you ain't working on the house. And you say, because it rained 3 times. I'm like, rain 3 times? What that got to do with anything? And then you come show me the contract. Look, it's a loophole. If it rained 3 times, then I don't have to give you the 2 months. And I'm like, dude, I agreed to the 2 months. I set my heart towards the 2 months, not the 6 months. You just jacked me. And you like, no, I just used the loophole. And I'm like, I'll never hire you again. So I'm explaining in that way to let you know when you got politicians that's finding loopholes, that's evil and that's taking advantage of the people. Understand that. When they find a loophole in government, they're finding a loophole in our will. The government belongs to us. So if you say you taking government contracts and giving them to your cronies, that's taxpayer money you taking giving to your cronies. We all should be upset about that. Every American. So no, it's not cool. It's not a just invisible pot of money that I can just send to countries over there. No. That's our money. That's the taxes they taking out our checks every week. That's the taxes that we paying when we buying houses, boats, and cars, and when we buying cookies out the store, and the pack say $1, but I end up paying $1.27. I'm like, where did 27 cents come from? And they like taxes. Then I'm like, well, why can't they use them taxes to pay black people reparations? Mic drop. Right? So we need to get the taxes to work for us. But in a few minutes, we're going to talk about that. But I'm going to keep going where I'm going. So finding loopholes in our government and exploiting them is taking advantage of us. Think about George Washington finding loopholes, or Abraham Lincoln. Just think about what I'm saying. When they set the government up, it belonged to them. So why would they put a politician in office that'll be finding searching the book looking for loopholes to exploit? You trying to exploit us. Whatever you trying to accomplish, you need to accomplish it within the boundaries of what we have established already. We don't need you to be searching loopholes like some type of criminal, like some type of crook. This isn't a bad example for our people, as well as our future leaders, to even be looking at somebody that's doing stuff like that. That's not cool. Right? All right. So we put them under contract, and when we put them under contract, what that'll do is take their ability to find loopholes, because we got them under contract. And while we got you under contract, you can't do nothing but the stuff that's on that contract, bro. We in Senate gonna be working on closing the loopholes that other people took advantage of. Mic drop. While we got this one on contract, we ain't worrying about him using the loopholes because he don't have it in his contract. He can only do the stuff that's in his contract. So we sitting here, show us your contract. What all you gonna do? Well, I reserve the right to fight a war because it might come up. Okay, we understand that you may take us to war. What else you got in there? Well, I plan on boosting minimum wage to $25. And we listening. What else you got in there? Well, I'm going to try to establish a universal health care for y'all where we can make the hospitals free like in Europe and all that is in this country. And we like, wow, he got some good things. The $25 minimum wage, we like the universal health care. That sounds good too. What else you got in there? Well, I'm thinking about slashing the taxes on the rich. Yeah, so how we going to put money back into the fund for Social Security and all that? And why you not slashing the taxes for the blue collar workers? We pay taxes too. And even the lower class pay taxes. Everybody pay taxes. So is you cutting the taxes on everybody or just the rich? That'll be my question. I'll stand up and ask them in the town talk. And if he say everybody, then I say, okay, can you put that in your contract? And then everybody will start clapping. Yeah, put it in your contract, put it in your contract. And he'll say, yes, I surely will. And man, let me set it up. I have it where we got a whiteout and a pen right there. We're going to white out what you had under stipulation 13. Now, in your own handwriting, write it right here in front of all of us on national TV. I'm going to cut taxes on all Americans. Okay, that's in your contract. Now I can sit down. What else you going to do? Well, I plan on cutting shutting down DEI. Then somebody could raise their hand. Why? I mean, just explain to us. We ain't saying you don't have the right to do it, but we saying tell us why you plan on doing it. And once he tells us, I believe it's a waste of money. They doing this and doing that, and it don't make sense. And we listen like, okay, we hear you. And then it's the next politician turn, and we like, okay, what you got for your contract? He's saying, well, I see he's talking about raising minimum wage to $25, but I've been talking to some business owners, and they say they can't afford it. If I'm in office, I'm not going to raise it to $25, but I'm going to raise it to a more acceptable rate of $20. And we listen to him like, okay, you say $20, he say $25. Now we got questions to ask you. You know, that's what I'm saying. We get to go, and then we get to raise our hand and say, well, we don't see nothing you saying about DEI. He said he's gonna cut it. What you gonna do about it? Because you don't have nothing in your contract about that. And then he could say, well, I ain't gonna touch it. That's why it's not in my contract. And then the people that don't want it slashed could say, okay, we like what he's saying. And then other people can debate and say, but he's only gonna bring minimum wage to $20. He said $25. Then somebody can raise their hand, well, we like the fact that you ain't gonna touch DEI. Do you think you can make your minimum wage compatible with this candidate because he's 25 and you 20, but the people really concerned about that, the cost of living going up, you think you could bump yours up to 25? Then maybe he will say, well, in that case, I never thought about it like that, but I'm willing to bump to 25. Then I could hand him the liquid paper and the pen. I mean, my stuff ain't no joke. Right there, right on the big screen. I'm a liquid paper that out, what he said with the 20. Now you write 25 in your own contract. By the time we established the debates that I was set up with the contracts, all they contracts gonna have liquid paper all over because we the people gonna be questioning them and making them change stuff and making them rearrange. And somebody will say, why? An old person from the Piscean age will say, why? They'll say, look, David, I see you Aquarian leader. They'll say, I see you got the wisdom of Solomon and you got the blood of David and Solomon in your body. So they said, brother, why did you say they will have liquid paper all from marking out stuff? And I'm going to say, that's a good question, brother. Go sit in the crowd. And one of my chaperones, they going to stand up and say, go pour my white brother over there a cup of Ethiopian coffee. And once I see my white brother drink the coffee, I'm going to say, listen, brother, the reason we going to have them with liquid paper and the reason we want to see that, because we want the contract to be perfect. We want it to be perfect to the will of we the people. We don't want what he's saying. We want what we want. See? So we going to take what they got just like a piece of clay and we going to work them at the debate and turn it into a vase or a coffee cup depending on we the people, what we the people want. And this is what I mean when I said I'm going to give the power back to we the people by putting the politicians under contract. Mic drop. So by the time he leaves the debate, he looking at his own contract like, I ain't even know I was going to give him $25. I had an idea to give him 20, but the people want 25, so that's what it is. You got to think about when people bidding on redoing your wooden floors at your house, you get to work with that contract. They don't just get to present their bid to you. You get to raise your hand. Okay, so I got to buy the cans of stuff we using for lamination, or you going to have your own stuff? How we going to do that? You know, because the last person that came here, they said they was going to provide their own materials and I wasn't going to have to pay for it. They put it all in one cost of $10,000. I'm seeing where you charging me $9,000, but you trying to make me buy $5,000 worth of supplies. And that's not adding up to the other brother. So I'm telling you, I'm looking in your eyes and telling you I'm going to end up using the other brother because he got the better contract. And then he going to say, well, look, I can work with this contract. Let me look at it. Let me get with my people. I'm going to come back to you tomorrow, and I'm going to try to get us a baseline number below the $10,000 that the other brother charged. And I'm going to shake your hand and say, good job. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. So this is what I mean. This is using the whiteout. We making them change the contract, and we making it to fit what we want, what we the people want. And by the time we lead a debate, they have a better understanding and a feel for what we want. All of us have the power to raise our hands and ask some questions. Everybody that's attending the debate, as well as people that's calling in live on the line, we take a few calls and a few people get to call in and ask questions as well, according to the contract that they showing us. And the kicker to this that I'm breaking down, the other candidates get to cross-examine you on the stage. So the debates that got real good. Because I get to raise my hand on the stage as the other candidate and say, you just said you're going to give $20. And you say, yeah. And I say, well, I'm going to give them 25. And you say, yeah. And I'm going to say, so why would you think the people vote for you over me? And then I look at the crowd. He trying to give y'all $20. I'm going to give y'all 25. And everybody busts out there. We done made the debates into a family affair. This is what I'm seeking. This is what I'm trying to do. I want it to be like us having dinner with our family, with the politicians at the table with us, but it's the entirety of America attending this. And this is just one of my ideas, right? This is just one. But these type of platforms that I'm going to implement in America is going to actually make us great for real, and it's going to actually make them countries over there that's against us begin to collapse. Because they people going to be watching our debate and they like, man, we love America. They stuff so fair. They like, we can't tell him nothing. If somebody say something, they getting gang stalked and assassinated. In America, they could raise their hand and question you and all kind of stuff. We like their system. We want to be a democracy. We want to be like America. Next thing you know, they marching over there with tiki torches in the middle of the streets over there where our enemies at. This is how I conquer countries without firing a bullet. When you have King Solomon up there, which is me. You know, I conquer countries without firing a bullet just by giving my country so much freedom and operating according to the art of war that I'm able to collapse their system just by their people watching our system. All right, another one I have. So we talked about the contracts, and I showed y'all how it's a brilliant idea, and I showed you how we can defeat politicians and strong men that's getting Senate in pocket when we the people want to impeach them, but we can't because Senate got that power and they keep vetoing it and they not giving us what we want. But this person is doing breach of contract, remember. All right? So we done empowered the people. And this is what America is all about. A country for the people, governed by the people. And this is why George Washington said, I don't want to be the king. Give somebody else a chance. Ben Franklin do good, or Thomas Jefferson. And they was like, you be king, you royalty, you be the king. You're a great leader. And he was like, nah, I want to give everybody a chance. We don't want no strong men over here. Mic drop. So don't say you're a red-blooded American when you agree with strong men. We don't have nobody over here that great that we want them for 9 years. Like, come on, you ain't that good, dude. Like, come on, ain't nobody that good, right? Okay, so we talked about the contracts, and I'm going to be talking more about the contracts with the politicians as time go on. But the main idea I want the watchers of the video to understand is we taking the power from them and we giving it to the people. And we freeing my Senate up to concentrate on closing loopholes. What we doing is undergirding our system and strengthening it against the Antichrist. This is what we doing because he is coming. And we already starting to see it wink at us right now. So before it even come to pass, we going to have so many fail-safes over here. The devil going to have to find another country to do that with. We going to have to find somewhere else. You go do that over there. Because you can't pull that off in America because this country belongs to we the people. So you can't put no strong man over here that's doing all that because we ain't going for it. We one nation, under God, indivisible, can't be divided, with liberty and justice for all us. Not just for the billionaires and all that, what they saying and the millionaires, but even for the poor people and even for the homeless. The way we treating the homeless right now is detestable, man. But that's another subject, okay? So another great idea that I have is putting the CIA and the chief of the chief of the CIA and the FBI chief and putting them on public office and putting them on the ballot. Okay, so I'm explaining to y'all why this is so much of a better idea. Think back to, well, I ain't gonna even speak on this, but just, I'm gonna say this. Think about FBI chiefs saying presidents asking them for loyalty pledges, which we know is corrupt. Because if this FBI or CIA chief is loyal to you, what if you doing some whitewater stuff? Whatever Nixon was doing or something like that. What if you doing inside trading or selling government, anything like that? We can't even investigate you and find out because the CIA and the FBI are loyal to you. We don't need the president picking a CIA chief and an FBI chief because it's a loophole. It's creating a loophole for them to take advantage of. And if it's the Antichrist in that spot, he probably gonna pick Satan and Lucifer for his CIA and his FBI chief. Just think about it. He'll have Mullick and Baal as his people, Baal, and Mullick as the other one. We talking about Satan. Now you see when we talk about the Antichrist. So if we make the CIA chief and the FBI chief public office that the public vote for, then they're loyal to the people and not the president. And that's what we need. We need individual, independent, investigative entities that are willing to prosecute corruption no matter where they find it at, even if it's in the White House. Mic drop. And the only way we can do that is by empowering our CIA chief, empowering our chief of the FBI, and making them elected officials. And if we do that, right now they tethered to the president. We untether them. We don't need them tethered to you because they can't even investigate you right now. Untether them. Now they free. They don't have to answer to you, bro. They answer to we the people. See? So I think it's a great idea. I think the senators need to begin to look into that. To look into that as well. And it's similar to what I was saying with the Supreme Court when I said increase the Supreme Court, and we probably should have half liberal and half conservative. All these things will make America great. When we saying make America great again, we got to work on the motor, bruh. I see you got nice rims and I see you went got a paint job, but your transmission old, your motor leaking oil, and your radiator leaking water. And you got holes in the hoses. So we got to work on the motor. We got to work on the inner workings of the country. We got to work on it for real. If I was in office, I don't want an FBI chief or a CIA chief that's loyal to me. If y'all see me violating, handcuff me, man. I want y'all to be loyal to the people because I ain't no criminal. I'm going to do the right thing, whether you're watching me or not. It really don't matter because I'm righteous. So I'm going to do the right thing. I'm not afraid to have an FBI chief or a CIA chief that's not turning a blind eye to my crimes. And all of us in America need to be interested in this idea. And what I'm doing is just showing y'all, I'm just flashing to y'all what I'm capable of doing. When I said if I get in there, I'm going to be bringing stuff, I'm going to push the envelope so far up, I'm actually going to make America great for real. Like other people just talking, but they ain't coming with none of this type of stuff. This is why I said put us on contract, because this some of the stuff from my 77 perm plan. See? So I would have had all this on the big board, and they would have showed up saying all kind of other stuff, and I would have showed up with big ideas that'll totally change the face of America and make us a better place. What I'm interested in is creating wealth or riches for all Americans through wise decisions and making that the ultimate goal of my platform is to make life free in America. Free. And that's one of the biggest ideas ever introduced within any government. And that's my idea. That's why I'm able to say that. That's coming from my pure heart. So I look back at the Garden of Eden and I see it was free. So my ultimate goal, that's how high I got the bar set. I want to make life free for Americans. I want Americans to get their checks on Friday and they able to spend it all on entertainment and luxury. They like it's practically free. All we do is buy food and clothes and buy cars. Everything free. We got Lil Solomon up there. We got Lil David up there. He done figured out how to make water bill free. He done figured out how to make the electric bill free. He done boost up minimum wage. He done brought the price of housing down. He done brought the price of food down. I told y'all how I'm going to bring the food down, the price of food down, through supply and demand. So the government money, the taxpayer money that I'm going to be signing with my pen, with people standing around me, I'm going to be signing programs that's going to give America a boost. Everything I sign going to give us a boost. It ain't going to be no personal stuff or the agenda that I got. No, it don't matter what my agenda is. The agenda is making life free. And I'm going to attack that goal from the right, from the left, from the north, the south, the east, the west, the northwest, southwest, north, south, north, east, west. I'm going to attack it like that. Like the man off the movie A Beautiful Mind. Because that's how I think. So that's how I'm attacking. So to make Americans more wealthy, I got to bring the cost of living down. So I got to start attacking it. And to do that, I'm going to raise minimum wage. I'm going to stop sending money to other countries over there that don't pay taxes. But instead, I'm going to start putting money back in the pockets of Americans. I'm going to empower the food stamp program where everybody getting like $50 to $75 more than they getting now. and they solving for the next 10 years. That one thing will make West Virginia and all kind of places in the Rust Belt and even down south, people go to sleep breathing easy with a sigh of relief, knowing they got King Solomon up there. They like the little guy we got up there now just made even the food stamp program solving for 10 years. And they like how instead of spending $10 billion on weapons, he added $5 billion to the fund for food stamps. That was brilliant. The people like that was for the people. If we stop shooting our missiles, then we won't have to buy no more. If we stop sending our weapons to other people, then we won't have to buy no more. Man, you're robbing Americans when you do that. That's what I'm telling you. So you sit here and tell us you're going to send 1,000 Tomahawk missiles over here that cost $10,000 a piece, but then we come to you and ask you about the food stamp program, and you telling us you removing people off the rolls because we don't have the money. But it's taxpayer money that bought the missiles and that support the food stamp program, and it's taxpayers that need the food stamp program. So we like, what are you doing? You wasting our money. Go talk to my Italians and ask them, is that smart? Is it smart for us to go buy 3 crates of guns and give them to another country while our families starving? Is that smart? Our people splitting up a slice of bread, they so hungry, and when you come to me, the boss, I'm saying, oh, I don't have no extra bread to give y'all, and everybody standing around the round table, and they like, why? And I say, because I bought 4 crates of guns and gave them to that country over there, and everybody looking at me like, why you did that? They don't contribute to the pot. They don't put no money back in the pot. They don't pay taxes, basically. So why are we giving them our stuff? I told y'all why on another video, but a lot of people ignored me. I said the reason they give them our stuff because they give them a personal kickback in their pocket. Mic drop. It's corruption. That's why I say we got to close all the loopholes. So basically we got to stop the bleeding. We got to stop the leaks. And if we stop all the money from the casino going out the back door and people handing money to their cronies at the card table and people rigging our slot machines so they buddies can win big, then we can actually start making a profit at this casino. You know, it's a good idea to set a casino on Las Vegas Strip. It wasn't a bad idea. We just had bad leadership and corrupt people running the casino, and they was passing everything out the back door and stuff, and that's why Social Security wasn't solving and some of the other programs. Now you see what I'm saying. So we need to stop being a warmonger. Another thing we need to do is begin to drill. We need to increase our money. So also we need to increase and stockpile our money by doing more drilling. And we need to start searching and finding more natural resources in America. I have a lot of ideas that I never talk about. We need to start drilling in every mountain. See, some of them mountains got all kind of resources in them that we just climbing the mountain and just taking pictures and stuff, and it's a whole mountain of gold from the times when the Mayans was over here, and now it got so old it's covered in dirt, and everybody forgot, and we think it's just a mountain, but it's actually a pile of gold. We need leaders that think outside the box to discover this. The planet is one big, I like to call it rock, filled with natural resources. We got to begin to ferret out and discover more natural resources to increase the wealth of our country. And then we can increase the wealth of our citizens. The more money we have, the less tax dollars we need. The more money the citizens get to keep in their pockets. You understand? Another program I would be looking at is having the states give a kickback to the citizens of that state from the sale of the natural resources of that state. Mic drop. This is what I mean when I said I got a 77-point plan. By the time I stop showing my contract, the other candidates going to get up and walk off the stage because they're going to be like, dude, we don't have stuff like that. I'm going to say, I know I'm like Nike on the side of y'all. Y'all can't compete. Y'all get off the stage, man. Y'all supposed to put me in there last year. I should have been in there. That's the attitude I'm going to have when I'm showing them my stuff. When you research and study the state of Alaska, which is in our beloved United States, it's a state in our beloved United States, Alaska sends checks to all the residents of Alaska every year for the sale of natural resources in that state. So the resources that Alaska sell, they give a kickback to every citizen in Alaska. And they able to give wealth back to the people for the sale of the resources within that state. If Alaska can do it, the other states can do it as well. I would set up a program where all the states in America are responsible for giving a kickback to the residents of that state from the sale of natural resources in that state. This is what I mean when I said my goal is to make Americans rich, and is to make the cost of living almost free in America. I will actually make us the greatest country in the world. Like for real, for real. And what'll happen is, through these programs that I'm instituting, the people will slowly start to seeing their bank accounts rise to the point where we'll be competing with the Scandinavian countries of Finland, Switzerland, and Sweden, and Denmark as the happiest countries on the planet. They'll say, who the happiest country on the planet? People say, you ain't gonna believe it, but it's America. And people gonna be spitting their coffee out. America? How they passed up Sweden and Switzerland? And they gonna say they also the richest country. They don't have no poverty over there no more. And they gonna say, what happened? And people gonna say they put Little Solomon in over there. See? So the thing is, when I look at America, my vision of America is much different than anybody that ever been in leadership before me, right? Y'all hear how them cars do it, them gang stalkers, but I'm gonna keep bringing my truth. So my vision of America is much different than any of the leaders y'all ever had before me, and it's probably equivalent to George Washington or either Abraham Lincoln. I don't see America as being a country of haves and have-nots like they do. The haves and the have-nots. I never saw that. I said, let's not draw the line in America between haves and have-nots, but let's draw the line between America and another country. And let's make Americans the haves, and let's make another country the have-nots. That's another primary goal of my platform. And they'll be, how you going to do that? And I say, think about some of the stuff you hear me saying. I'm going to stop sending money to that country, and I'm going to start giving it back to Americans. That's one box check in making us the haves and them the have-nots. Now they got to spend their own tax money to fight wars and do their stuff. Don't be using my people money. See, I'm going to start instituting different programs like that to make us the haves and other countries the have-nots. We're going to stop giving our weapons away, and so that's going to make us not have to buy. We're going to be operating more like India. When we buy weapons, these are the weapons that we use for war. They're not the weapons we use to give you to go shoot at other people. And if we stop supplying these people with weapons, then they'll stop fighting wars. Mic drop. We'll make the planet more peaceful simply by not supplying some of these countries with weapons. This has been a brief excerpt into the 77 frequency and to the mind of King Solomon, the young King Solomon, and some of the things I'm going to implement in America. It's many more plans that I have, but like I say, today is one of my days that I've been at work, so I'm kind of tired, but I want to briefly just touch in and drop some more light into the spirits of the people. I pray that this video is an inspiration to the future leaders as we begin to approach the age of Aquarius, which we're entering in right now. And God has already provided the Aquarian leaders with the ideas and the energy and electricity that we need to make our country great and raise the vibration in America as well as on the planet. Until next time, Selah.